Praise the Lord, my beautiful, blessed souls. I'm back with another word. Just something I wanted to share with you guys. Praise the Lord. It is Sunday, even though the Sabbath is on Saturday. But I digress. But anyway, I was reading and trying to understand, God giving me some stuff here. Still questions about my life and how I got started with all of this, like from the beginning. And that's where I am. Got started with all of this because I started asking questions, looking into my own life, and what was going on with it and why things were the way they were, and questioning a lot of things and wondering, and feeling odd, like I was either cursed, like something was going on. And lo and behold, started getting the answers. Some of them were ones I thought maybe some of them wasn't what I thought, or wasn't as great as I wanted them to be. But nonetheless, God has been taking me down this journey, and it has really been a very interesting one. So let's get started. One, I would like to say, read from this verse real quick. What is it? Okay. I have to go back in here because I had a couple of verses that I wanted to read from. Okay. Okay, this one is Psalms 139:14. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. Well, with this right here, it's like I said in Psalms. I was thinking about the complexity of life between the spiritual world and the natural world. And of course, there's a lot of complexities. And we don't really realize how complex they are and how overlapping they are from one to the other. And because we're human beings here having a spiritual, we're spiritual beings having a human experience here, we have to look at it from that point of view. So I was thinking about a lot of things, asking God some questions. And this is what we came up with. Every man is a complex being. God created us He created us to be in between, I would say, in between physical and spiritual. And because of this, life can be very confusing to us, of course. We are all a part of His complex creations. Our lives are intricate, because each one of us have our own special thing. No one of us is quite the same. Everybody's situations and circumstances is unique and different to its own life. It's just like your looks and your family and the tree. Now, my thing was, since we all came from the same, but we can't really say that because I know they said that there's some of Satan's seed mixed in, of course, now. But our origins is from the garden with Adam and Eve, for the most part. And sometimes this is misunderstood because it could be a burden. It could be a blessing and a burden at the same time, because we're trying to figure out the two worlds. Like I keep saying, I always ask for balance all the time. To help me balance them out. But to understand one and to be able to understand both and kind of bring them where, we can have harmony. Because before the fall, we didn't have all of these issues. So sometimes we wonder why, things are the way they are, and we wish that we could either be someone else, do something else, or, because sometimes this goes through our mind, especially depending on what it is that you're going through in your life, your particular life, because no one of us is the same. We all have our crosses to bear and different things that are going on. And so I was asking God a lot of questions about, His workmanship, us and our flaws, our strengths, our weaknesses, and all of these different things. And really got back to the garden to where it all began again. And wondering why the families break up and why there's so much distress and why all of these different things. But as we saw from the fall of man, the first thing that happened was Cain killed Abel, and then it just continued on. And so it's like, and they were at war with each other because it was just them. So it was just them and their family. And that's why it said in scripture also that your enemies will be of your own household. I don't know if you remember that. And it starts to make a lot of sense now because usually that's the closest ones to us. And this is usually what happens. But the devil loves this type of a space because sin, once he got them to sin, tricked them, but they chose it. He was able to come in and do what he wanted to do. And this is what God keeps telling us, to stay away from sin. And the reason why we can't sin is because one is disobedience. We're in rebellion against God, which is sin itself. And that leads us into open doors, open gateways where the enemy can come in and have legal rights to attack us. So we don't want that. So when we start living, or as we're living, we notice certain things are going on, whether people are saved or unsaved. And nowadays, we can't really tell the difference because a lot, it's kind of co-mixed and co-mingling. This is what God did not want. He did not want it co-mingled. He did not want it contaminated. So being that we're hard-headed, we like to do what we want to do. This is how we ended up. But I want to get back into this family thing because we need to break this family situation down as far as the curses, the bloodlines, all of these things, because this is, and this is, like I said before, because God had made it specifically clear of the rules and regs from when they first got into the garden. And even after he cursed, Adam, Eve, the earth, the ground, and everything, and then the serpent as well. So when we think about all of these things, we gotta look back and just say, well, let's kind of get to breaking this thing down. So now we wonder how all of these crazy things are happening in our lives. One, there's open doors, like I said, sin, rebellion against God, not doing what you're supposed to be doing in any type of a capacity when it comes to God is considered an open door. So now, the devil can come in and he can attack. They love to attack families. They love to attack marriages. They love to have the families, bickering, fighting amongst each other. We got to think about Satan and his systems, his kingdoms, his demons, his Nephilims, his fallen angels, familiar spirits, monitoring spirits, controlling spirits, whatever you want to call them. So, but they're all considered to be either demons or fallen angels, whichever ones you want to call them. Remember, these ones, they really don't have no body, so they be wanting to get into your body. And when Jesus was casting out the spirits, this is where all of this came from. Now, so whenever the devil wants to get some stuff going, or if he sees some good stuff going on in your life, the best way to do is attack. And attack where there's an opening, of course, and of course where not only just the opening, but meaning sin. But usually it's through each other and our own desires. Like if we're at odds with each other, he magnifies it and brings it, and then that's how this all comes about. And so when we look at that, the open doors, like I said, is sin. And the household, there must be some type of an agreement. Remember, he can't just do stuff. We have to agree, meaning he doesn't force us, because just like God doesn't force us, he doesn't force us. He just sets it before us and we choose it. So that's how we come into agreement with it. So this is why we have to be very careful of what we're doing, who we're doing it with, where we are. All of these things, we don't think these things are significant, but they really, really are. Okay, so now when you think about division, you think about anger, confusion, bitterness, pride, all of these type of things, you would never think that these are spirits, or these would be things or ways that the devil will use to break up families, to have each other arguing and at strife and with each other. Now, that will be the perfect thing to do if you want to keep marriages divided, if you want to keep people single, if you want to keep people fornicating, having sex outside of marriage, all of these things by, sending these temptations or desires towards them, magnifying them so that they can, choose them, or you come and you lie to them or you deceive them in any type of capacity. Now, but like I said, it's up to the person to choose it, because even though he presents it, you don't have to take it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to come into agreement with it. But once you do, now here we go. The floodgates is open, because now they get in and they not gonna just take an inch, they're gonna take a mile. So whatever little space they got, they're gonna, maximize that. And it's just like a rush of all of these things that comes inside and creates havoc in, the lives of us. And like I said before, it's usually because it's saying, now when you think about all the rules and regulations that God gave us when he, put us here to live, the 10 Commandments, how to love and treat each other, how to treat him, how to treat the earth, the animals. Ooh, excuse me. Everything in creation has its own policies and procedures, just like life has, that we are supposed to be following, but because we're not following them. This is why we have all of the things that we have going on in life right now that we have going on. Now, what we did not know, which I'm learning about a lot now myself, is the spiritual aspect, because we know what we see here in the physical and how that plays out, the children arguing, they fussing, fighting with themselves. But there's a whole nother realm we don't see that is operating, that we do not see and do not know about. And that realm is already there. And because it's already there and it's already in operation, everything happens there first, and then it comes down here and manifests, and we actually see it play out. So now, okay, let's say we have a family, right? And it's a husband and wife, children, let's say. Okay, so, the child starts, going to school, wants to rebel, want to hang out with his friends, party, start smoking weed, all these type of things. So then now here's an open doorway, right? So now the devil's already got them. Why, they could be saved, they could not be saved. Because, in the church, a lot of times it be there, the preacher's kids be they have the most going on. But that's by design, because if the devil wants to attack, he's going to attack that family, because it's a family that's over other families and it holds weight. So whenever they want to, like, kill two birds with one stone, you call it, then you get the most powerful one. That's like either the chosen one that's in each family or the strongest one. Because if you get the strongest one and you knock them out the box, then you have everything else. Now, if these people are preachers and they are, big congregations, if they fall, the congregation falls with them. Or if they lose their witness, see how they go? So there's a big domino effect. So if they really want to do something, this is how they would do it. And this is why I said we have to be very, very mindful, because the devil is very, very crafty. So if they have no prayer life, or they slacking, or if they got sick or something, whatever is going on, like I said, the child starts acting out, want to hang out, want to party, want to smoke weed. So now here we go, then bringing drugs in the house. Now they're doing, selling the drugs or whatever. I'm just using these as examples. So now this whole, family, because now the parents will start going at it, or, whatever. Then maybe adultery come into play, or, whatever. But the seed has already been sown. And when you think about the anger, the bitterness, the pride, the adultery, if they want to just, destroy like a whole congregation, if they attack the first family, that would kind of just destroy that whole church. You see what I'm saying? So when we look at the devil, he's the enemy, and he has a kingdom. He has systems that he follows, and he goes by protocol, because he uses the godly protocol, okay, in order to have access to do what it is he want to do, because he has to have legal grounds and legal right. And this is how they go about doing it. And so they will feed off of all of these things. Now, let's say the husband and wife already had issues from growing up with their own families. Okay, let's say she was molested. Let's say they both they only grew up with one parent apiece. They have their own stuff going on. So they already have stuff that they have going on. They call them triggers or whatever, that they already were dealing with themselves. And then they got together, became a family. And now, it's just bleeding out or hemorrhaging out the issues they already had, because they didn't deal with it. They didn't deal with the generational curses. They didn't deal with any of that stuff. And they got together. So now here they are battling all this other extra stuff, and they have their own family now. And this is how this continues, because depending on what she had on her family, mother, father side, and what he had in his family, mother, father side, now they're passing it down to the children. So this is how we have a total hot mess of a life. And then we wonder, what happened and why things just kind of fell apart, tore apart. No one staying married. No one, some of them can't have children or get pregnant. The ones that can are the ones that single with nobody, and the ones that are married, can't. You see the opposite, and this is what he loves to do. He loves to sow that discord, that division, that confusion, that anger, that bitterness, that pride, all of these things, because it's divide and conquer. Once you get that in there, they know there's going to be a bunch of confusion. Now it's going to sow seeds or tares or wheat in all these other areas. They're going to start to bloom. They're going to start to bloom. So God does not care for rebellion or rebellious kids. He's a God of order. He's a God of having authority, everything in its place. Like I said, policy and procedure is what he does. And then once these demons get inside of you, because they must be cast out, because they remain there and they remain in the bloodline until someone actually fights them off. So it just continues on. A house divided against itself shall not stand. And then when we look at these things, because I was thinking about the prayers and stuff, because they may be praying, maybe they were, maybe they got sick, maybe something happened, because that spirit of infirmity could come in and it be sickness, and they have poverty also with other things. So your money is start to go, because once one thing starts kind of unraveling, they kind of all start to unravel, like I said before. So now we think about the prayers or hindered prayers. We got to think about it. Now, a lot of us in the church, we don't understand why a lot of our prayers are hindered or delayed, or we're in this backwardness state, or we're stagnated. We have no growth. A lot of things with that. Our own personal walk with God could be the issue, because we haven't grown up. We're not putting forth the effort. We're not putting forth the work. We're not being obedient to him. We're just going to church and thinking that, hey, this is just it. We don't have to read our Bible. We don't have to praise and worship. We don't have to do nothing outside of going on a Sunday or Wednesday or whenever we going. But that's not going to help you, especially when it comes to this type of stuff. So we have to be praying over our families. We have to be fasting. We have to be warring for our husbands, all these type of things, because remember, married or not, there's always other people and other demons out there or other spirits out there. You don't know what they're operating out of. They could be looking at the husband, they could be looking at the wife, whether they're married or not. People work together, things happen all the time. So when we look at these things, we gotta keep digging, keep digging. Then the children got their own stuff. Then you got stuff going on at the job, creates a lot of divide. Or you could be working opposite schedules, or anything that can sneak in and give the enemy a footstool. But now, in the spiritual realm, we must understand there's something called hindered prayers, and the prince of air is the dragon, and he likes to hinder your prayers, and he likes to distort your walk with God, meaning create havoc in your life. He doesn't want you to live a holy life. And this is where, having your friends, and once you come out, to try to stay and not be backsliding or not be moving forward, not be stagnating in your walk, because this type of stuff is easy. He wants you and want to keep you contrary to what God says for your life and for what you to do. He doesn't want you to walk holy and righteous, because this is how he's going to hinder your prayers. So we got to understand this when we're looking at this stuff too. So these things are happening in different realms at the same time, and one that happened here, then it bleeds out over here. So then we have but then remember, this is then we have the Prince of Persia. We talked about that in Daniel, when they talked about he hindered the prayers of the righteous. So not only do they want us to walk opposite of God, meaning in sin instead of walking holy, but then now this one is the Prince of Persia, and he wants to hinder the prayers, anyway. So it's like one of them want to hinder your walk or distort it, because they know if you're walking and you're holy, it's powerful when you pray. And then the other one wants you to hinder your prayers. So these are the two facets of, and Jesus said we should always pray. So now we understand a little bit as to what is going on, or the prayers not getting up there or not getting answered. or being delayed, stagnated, whatever. So when we see these things happening, what sets in? Discouragement. We start to question ourselves. We start to feel bad. We start to, wonder if God cares. See, that brings in doubt, fear. Our faith is distorted. And then they give them more ground. So here we go. See, this is what they love to do. They plant more seed, more seed, more seed to grow further on down the line to further jack you up. Okay, this is how this is going to go. So, like I said, if you have sin in your life, you have no faith, you didn't pray, as much or as you should or properly. And, prayers can be the downfalls, of yourself and others, especially if they're not getting up there, meaning if they're being hindered. Now, also, there could be other events going on, other attacks, like, they have accidents. We think these things are just regular things, or anything that's stagnated, delayed, or backward going living. These are also attacks. Sickness, disease, poverty, or, especially if you go to the doctor and then you sick and then you go in there and they tell you they don't know what this is, they don't know what's going on with you type thing. Whenever you see that, know that. Because if they can't diagnose it, you don't know what to fight against. That's number one. And number two, usually that's a spiritual thing. So we got to start sitting here and thinking about our lives, going back in our lives and thinking about how we got to where we are in life. Because this was my question. Lord, where am I? How did I get here? What's going on? And I started to go back and question everything that's been going on in my life, because I always felt like there was some crazy stuff going on. I didn't understand why. And it was more than BCI. And it was very abnormal. It was not normal. It was just not. Some of the craziest stuff would just be going on. And this is how I realized that, yes, it's more than just me. It's more than just my decisions, although that played a role in it. It is some generational stuff. It is some stuff I did. And if I don't, if me and God don't get together and get it done, it will continue on. It has to be dealt with. Like I said, accidents, sickness, death, this is what, aids and breakup of relationships, marriages, which, in God's eyes, we're not boyfriend and girlfriend, baby mamas. We're not none of that. You're married, you're husband and wife, or you're nothing. This is because he doesn't deal with the fornication. That's already sin. That's already rebellion. That is already an open doorway for the devil to come in and just torment everything you got going on and take it away or destroy it. So now, and then once we have all of these issues and hurts and pain, then we don't want to love. We don't want to forgive. We don't want to do this. So now we need therapy. Now, you see, all of these things is just making that, it's like a snowball effect is what I was looking at. And I said, Dad, one little small thing could just become something totally huge if it's left unchecked. We don't G-check it. And if you don't pay attention and be discerning in your life and what's going on, whether it's you, your children, your spouse, whatever, even at your church, because there'll be stuff going on here at your job, folks trying to get you fired, or your church, acting up and they going through some warfare of their own, trying to get whatever going. It could be with anything, but you got to be paying attention. Your relationships, your friendships, your money, your finances, your careers, your business. When you see stuff just looking crazy, stagnated, ain't nothing happening, something going on, like what is going on here? And you sit down and you say something, this is just not normal. Like something, it got to be more than that. And people say, oh, you crazy. No, you're not crazy. You really are starting to pick up on the patterns, the cycles, the thoughts, patterns, cycles, and habits. Because this is how we get to those. And we got to break them and we got to change them in order to get something different. And remember, the enemy hates family. He hates marriages. Why? Because God loves it. And he does not want, he fights against these things. And he will send all of these things into the marriage by way of people, places, and things to distort, to distract, to tear up. And they usually is either the closest ones to you, because that's the ones that could get you the easiest, because they know you, they know your habits, they know your everyday stuff. So this is how they do that. And it's usually someone close. Remember, Judas was close to Jesus. He wasn't on the outside. He's on the inside. And the house divided amongst itself shall not stand. Usually the attacks are coming from inside. How is the house fighting amongst itself? When you see that, it's demonic, because it's evil. Okay. These things will cause more pain when you get into divorce, you get into all these other things. Why? The issues with the kids, the issue with the finances, the issue with this, issue with that. And this is how the witchcraft, or I would say the network, the web goes on, and they just kind of weave you in and do a bunch of evil, wicked stuff to you. And it's evil as we a network of them. It could be a couple of them. And then they can have webs where they have spin a web where you can actually be caught in it and you can't move. You just stagnated. So you got to pay attention to what's going on in your life. And you got to pay attention to the patterns, the cycles, the thought patterns, and, all of that in your life. And even the habits that you have. Because usually this is the reason you have them. People drink them away, sex them away, smoke them away, party them away. And they don't never get to the real root. They're depressed and not paying it any mind why these demons is in there tormenting them. Whether they're from generational, from their own stuff, then they not dealing with it. And not dealing with it is just giving the enemy more access and giving him, because until you put a stop to him, he's going to continue to wreak havoc. He don't believe in just, taking this little corner. No, he wants it all. He want to destroy you. He want to kill you. He want to kill your children. He want to do all of that. He don't want to see you happy. He don't want to see you with nothing. He want to lie, cheat, steal, kill, and destroy. This is what he do. Him, they not playing. Him and his people, his systems, his kingdoms, they are not playing. His demonic ones, minions, the workers of iniquity, they are not playing with you. They're not, and you cannot play with this, because your whole bloodline, your whole could be full of poverty, full of the regular, everyday rigmarole. Nothing is moving forward. No one's growing in any aspect of their lives. Folks are just, working hard, but not reaping the benefits, the fruits of your labor, because someone else is. They done stole your start. They done stole your destiny. They done, did root work on you, got you with spells. You don't even know it. You got a love spell. You got a sleep spell. You got a this spell. You got a, backwards spell, a stagnation spell, a delay spell. This is how they get you. And then they get people to the point where they want to, what themselves. And it's sad. But this is what they love, because the more that person does bad, the more they do good. So these are the things we have to really, really be paying attention to. That's why I say, and then they make money nowadays off of homeless people. I'm like, that is ridiculous. They don't want to help people, or they want to have to do it so they can make some money. But in all actuality, it's like that's not really what they do. And it's sad, because it's come to that. In desperate times is desperate measures, and people do desperate things. So just imagine in the end times when things are starting to get crazy, what folks are going to be doing. If they doing what they doing now, and then we got that, far yet. And then understand something too, because I've been learning this. You got some people you can help, some people cannot. Some people want it, some people don't. Some people's minds are just so messed up. Even if you help them, by the time they got out, they will find themselves right back. And this is how this goes, because it is a spiritual thing. And if they have a spirit, a curse on them for backwardness or delay or stagnation, then every time they try to make a move and do something in their life, this is what they're going to get. And they're going to keep being frustrated, not understanding what's going on. And there's no earthly reason why this will be going on. So we must understand. And then telling people your business and being friendly and telling people too much is not a good situation, because you don't know who's who and what's what. So you got to ask God for discernment to let you know when he's bringing in and taking out, and who they are. Are they kingdom builders and helpers, destiny helpers? Are they destiny leeches and swappers and stealers? But this is what you got to know, because usually the enemy knows before you know your calling, what you got going on, before you even figure it out. They be watching and waiting. Okay, and when it says that the serpent will eat dust, that means God does not provide for his enemy and his enemy's children. They have to provide for themselves. So this is why we can't just be, stewarding our money, our blessings, our everything any old kind of way, because God didn't mean them for them to go to certain people. So you are called to certain people, and certain people you just not. Even Jesus had that problem. He couldn't do miracles and stuff in certain areas. Why? Because of the same reason. Certain people rejected him. They did not, accept him. They did not respect him. They did not care for him, love him, whatever. And so because of that, if he went and tried, because their faith, their whatever, they didn't like him, it wouldn't work. So he would just stay away. And for the ones who did, he went. And this is what we have to practice and learn too. Everybody say they love you, friends, family, whoever. That don't mean that that's the case. Because we see Judas did the same thing, kissed him on the cheek and told him, yeah, rabbi, but honey, please, you just cold betrayed the dude, the whole entire Jesus, the whole entire King of Lord of Lords. You just But it was a part of the plan. And Jesus knew it because he already knew Jesus was going to do it. He knew that was what it was all about. And he had to keep quiet and just continue on like in order to fulfill the purpose. And this is what that was about. It wasn't about him. It was about us. It was about fulfilling his purpose and his assignment here on earth. And he didn't care about anything else because getting it done, all these small battles we fight a lot of time for no reason is crazy because it's winning the war is what we want to do, what we trying to do. Not to be arguing over little petty stuff that really don't mean nothing. So anyway, I'm going to get, and that's a nugget and a hint for us, especially us black people. We spend more time arguing about stuff than actually doing something and getting stuff done because everybody want to be a chief. Nobody want to be an Indian. Everybody knows more, do more, and they blind leading the blind. And nobody want to work together. Everybody got their own agenda. There's no I in team. It's only we and us. I will reiterate that. Okay. So at the end of the day, what they do is feed off us, our flesh, our angers, our insecurities, our energy, our failures, our tears, our blood. This is what they do. This is why this is so important. And they need more blood and they need more energy and they need us depressed. They need us stressed. They need us doing bad. They don't want anything good for us. And they get more in that circle from us being tormented, tortured, not living well, everything going wrong, disaster. And this is what they want. And they sit around and they are constantly 24/7 trying to see to it that our lives are destroyed. And it's so sad. And they use any and everything they possibly can. They don't care. And it's like, I keep asking God, I guess their hearts is harder to turn to stone because how could you not have a heart? And this was where love and compassion coming. How could you do people like that? I can stand to see a person is suffering and pain and stuff like that. I would want to help. But then God's teaching me, you got to pay attention because that could be a setup. And not everyone's there for you to help. And you may not be sent to all these people. So you got to be careful because takers and leeches was continue to take. They were crows and whatever's owls, whatever bats, whatever they feed off of human flesh or whatever it is, they will continue to feed off you until you decease. And then some of them still after because they're just like vultures. They'll continue. They don't care nothing about you. So these are the things you have to be mindful of. And that's with your friends. This is with your family, your spouses. You can be sleeping with the enemies all day long. You don't even know it because until something happens, so when they betray you, and then you got to learn from it. You got to love them, forgive them, and move on still, even if you don't have them in your life, because God doesn't tell us to do that. We don't have to bring them back in. We do have to forgive, but we don't have to deal with them anymore, especially not like that. So, as Christians, we must be open and paying attention because we see blessings and curses. As a Christian, we have Jesus. We have everything we need because he's going to supply us with everything we need in every aspect of our lives, right? As long as we're working right, as long as we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, he's going to teach us, learn us, and, that was that. I don't even know what this says. Okay, this is what the DNA, you cannot touch and eat, right? So when it comes to that situation, we have a lot of that going on, even in the natural and the spiritual realm. Well, no, not the spiritual realm, in the natural realm. But it's not good that you should lead them babies. It's not good that you should lead that woman. It's not good. It's just not good. It's not good. Even if you don't want to be with her, at least help with the children because that is another whole issue of curses that you bring upon yourself, even with just that and doing that. But anywho. Let me see. Then by the time we go through all of this, it's time for what? We need to be healed. We need to be delivered. Can't move on. You gotta forgive your wife or your husband. You gotta forgive, because it says in the Bible we're supposed to pray for those that hurt us and all this. You gotta, forgive your husband, your wife, your children, your friends, whatever. You gotta forgive and you gotta move forward. But like I said, you don't have to continue to have them in your life or at close proximity. So now, because they want you to stay in this defeated state, this is where they operate and work better off of trauma. So now you got to get rid of all of these wounds and scars to your heart, to your mind, because now, you done got a little dirty with the they call it all this stress and these different disorders that they claim you have. But really it's just the demons that are in there talking and dealing with you, because you allowed the curse, the sin to be in, and you was able to be cursed, because a curse without cause won't land. So now that this has landed on you, it's because, one, there was an open door with your sin. Two, you was disobedient, you rebelled. And three, God got to let you, make your own decisions, and you got to deal with whatever comes with it. Although he's with you and he'll deliver you and be there with you through it, he may not deliver you from it, because he wants you to learn that lesson. And that's in any aspect of our lives, so we can learn, so we can grow, in the next round will be better, because every level with the Lord is like a game, not to say it like that, but you got to beat and defeat these ones here to move forward, and beat and defeat them, and you can't move forward until you do it, and you got to pass, the experience and the learning and all of that before you can move forward. So when we think about these things, it really does mirror the real world. And when you look at this, all of the policies and procedures he put in place for us, yes, if we listen, it would actually work. Might take us longer. We may not get everything we want and need from it, but for the most part, because he didn't say he's going to give us everything we want and need. He said he's going to provide for us. He will protect us. He will heal us. He will deliver us. This is what he said. So every little thing you want, like a child, that's not going to fly. That's not going to happen. So now we got to go into healing and deliverance mode. So now we got to either find someone, ask God to take it out, ask him to help us. This is why when folks get addicted to things and it's hard to get rid of them, whether it's smoking cigarettes, whether it's whatever, because it's been there so long, and whatever hurt or whatever's attached to it, and you need to heal it before you go out and do more damage, because if you ain't healed, that's all you're going to do. So now you got to sit still with yourself, ask the questions, figure it out, and take that journey of the healing and deliverance, and for God to restore you eventually afterwards to where you're made whole, all those broken, shattered pieces of yourself in your life, and mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually, is brought back to yourself and restructured, okay, so that it could be better than it was before. So then we got, like I said, that takes fasting, that takes prayer, praise. Some people go to therapy, some people go to deliverance ministries where people will deliver you, but you got to be careful of all of that too, because you don't know all the wolves and sheep's clothing with that either. But do your investigations. It is worth it, that journey to go down of healing and healing, deliverance, and restoration. And that's what God will do for you, because in the end, he wants you to be back whole. He wants you to be out there for the kingdom. He wants you to be, helping with winning souls, because that's what this is all about. And he wants you as an example as to how to live your life and how to represent him here on earth, as the middleman, like they would say, the go between the middleman, to, just be able to have, that knowledge of how to live here but not be of here, because we are spiritual beings here having an earthly experience on earth, right? Because our spirit is what we really are. Our bodies and souls is here, but the spirit is what's actually, keeping us alive and keeping us here. And so before we leave here, because we all got a date and time with that, we must understand something, that these things that we're discussing right now, from the dust to why they love eating dust and unclean things and all these type and practicing and all these evil, nasty, wicked places, this is why, because this is the things they do in secret. Now, if you're under attack, this is what I say, you got to look at your life, whether it's generational, stuff that was already there, and whatever you got going on, and someone has to repent, and they have to go through this process in order to break it, to get rid of it, in order for the next generations to come in to be okay. And while you're here, to battle it for yourself as well. Don't forget your prayers and your fasting, and you got to do it the right way. You got to find scripture that suit whatever it is you're praying for, because like I said, everybody's situation, circumstances is different. They want different things or need different things in order for their lives to be, better. So that's what we have to be doing. So other than that, I'm trying to think if this is anything else, because I'll be trying not to make them too long. But remember, you need the healing. And the healing part, it starts when you start looking and investigating and getting information, collecting the data. Then the deliverance comes when you start applying the applications to what you're learning. And then the restoration is God, when he gives the increase and he go ahead and take it out and just, make you whole again. So I pray to God that this message helps someone. I really do. I do have another one. I'm not sure if I'm going to get through it today or tomorrow. I'll figure that out based off of what is going on in a little bit of my life. I wanted to get back into the healing and deliverance a little bit more, but that may be in the next one because that's going to talk more about some other stuff too that we need to talk about. And like I said before, you know, when it comes to family and friends, you have to be wise in what you're doing. You have to be paying attention in your spiritual realm and in your natural realm because if not, they don't mind biting you. Okay, the serpent, they don't mind, you know. So it just is what it is. But other than that, praise the Lord. Hope your day goes well. We are bruised and not broken. I hope this message helps someone to understand that when they're working with the Lord or when they're just coming in to understanding what is actually going on, because you do become a part of the devil's hit list as soon as you say you want to be saved or you want to change your life and repent and turn from your evil, wicked ways and go in the other direction, following God, following Christ. This is what happens. Folks think that this is a wonderful hunky-dory. It is not. It has its advantages. It can be at times, but you will go through things. It's not what I'm not going to sit and say, oh, you're going to get saved and tomorrow your life is going to be wonderful, because it could, but 9 times out of 10 of that happening, not really. So, like I said, love you guys. Bruised and not broken. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Like I said, I'm going through this journey and I'm just sharing what I'm learning as I'm going. It has really been a blessing, and the stuff that I'm using, the tools that I have been using to help me are just beautiful. And there's deliverance people out there. There's Bev Tucker, I think her name is, or Tyler. And then there's a guy, Nelson Schumann. They have different things, but it's more than just them. You know, you have a lot of different things that you have to just, you know, study materials when you want to study to, you know, understand more about this world we're living in and how it really operates, and it's really ran because it's not ran off what we see. It's ran off what is in the spiritual realm. This is why your spiritual capabilities, gifts, talents, whatever, you have to really be trying to seek God so you can hone in on them so you can know what's going on. Because if not, everything would just be a surprise to everyone and it would not be a good one. It would be, you know. So like I said, love you guys. Later. Be blessed. I think that's it. Love you later. Smooches.